at some point that stuff doesn't work anymore.
Mhm.
And I have to start doing things with my life.
I think at some point we have to ask ourselves, is this a plateau? Do I need to start working to move forward? Or is this actually just what peace feels like?
So if I feel bored and flat, I think the first thing for me now is that I take responsibility for the fact that I'm the one choosing what to do with my life.
I guess I wasn't really looking to grow.
Mhm.
It was like I was just thinking, just if you're sober, you're good.
Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery Podcast, where we believe that connection is the opposite of addiction, vulnerability is the antidote to shame, and personal growth is the key to loving your sober life. We're your hosts, Julie Miller and Steve Knapp. Join us in conversations with people from all over the globe about how you can thrive, not just survive, in a life without alcohol. Welcome, everybody, to Through the Glass Recovery Podcast. It is so nice to have you back with us for season 4. Before we get into introductions, I'm just going to remind our listeners, we are also on video now. So if you want the video version of this and actually see us hanging out, talking, make sure you check out our YouTube at Through the Glass Recovery Podcast and subscribe and all of the good stuff. We're like, growing up in the technological world here and giving you guys a little bit of extra content. So make sure you check it out. So we are here today with Rachael and Chad, and so happy to have you guys with us. We're going to start with introductions, and Rachael, I'm going to let ladies go first.
Oh, bless you. My name is Rachael Shepherd. I'm a UK sober coach, and I'm the author of Sober Mama. So the book came out in December, and it's essentially a memoir and a how to quit drinking guide. And that came off the back of starting to blog when I first quit drinking almost 4 years ago. And after I did a few blogs, I had a few friends and family say, oh, you should turn it into a book. So that's what happened. So all of my my books, my content, blogs, etc., all on sobermama.co.uk. But yeah, that's me.
Really cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's really nice to meet you and get to spend some time with you in person. Well, this kind of, virtual in person. And
as close as we can get.
Yeah.
As close as we can get from the UK to here.
I will
This is in person.
Never stop loving the fact that we can do this and hang out with people all across the world and have these conversations. So really, really cool to have you here. And next we've got Chad.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks, Julie and Steve, for giving this opportunity to join you guys on this podcast. Kind of the first time sharing my story. I'll be 5 years sober tomorrow, which is kind of a cool milestone for me.
We need to hold on and stop and congratulate you
Huge
right now.
Congratulations. Amazing.
That is awesome, dude. Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself for that. Kind of how I kind of started. Of course, I got second DUI, so that's kind of how I started my sober journey. And at the beginning, started going to AA pretty hard for 3 months and kind of felt like this wasn't my scene. Kind of didn't like what was kind of going on and felt like I could do it on my own. So I went that path and been sober ever since and enjoying life every day,
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for letting us celebrate 5 years with you. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So, early sobriety, while difficult, can also be a really exciting time. We're working on ourselves, we're making positive changes, we're seeing real growth in ourselves and in our lives, but inevitably a time comes that the growth starts to kind of slow down. We hit a plateau that leaves us feeling like we're just treading water. So have you ever hit a point in sobriety where you wondered if this was as good as it gets? How did you move through it? What tools did you lose? And what did you learn that you can share with our listeners about moving through a plateau in your sobriety? Anybody is welcome to start. We'll just jump in and have a conversation.
I'm happy to start.
Go ahead.
That's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Go for it.
I hit that moment pretty hard, very, very early in sobriety. So after the first, it was somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks, I was in full on pink cloud, feeling euphoria. And I knew I was in pink cloud because I started pissing everyone off around me because I was waxing lyrical about how amazing sobriety was. And I think not just for me, but certainly for a lot of the clients, that first 2 or 3 week period is like the biggest shift because your body goes from being poisoned to all of a sudden in this intense period of relief, and it feels so good. And then I just came crashing down and hit this prolonged period for a good 2 months of feeling flat, bored, depressed, down. And I mean, I look back now and put that down to a huge lack of dopamine, essentially, and my brain just recovering. But then it did hit me again later in sobriety. And I look back at that now and I can't even remember the time. I just remember having that example, is this it? And it occurred to me, my brain had recovered. So it couldn't have been that. And for me, it was just, okay, this is an emotion I'm not used to. It's boredom. And where I was drinking, my life was filled with chaos and drama. It's just that absence of that. And actually now, when I feel bored or flat, I kind of see that as my body giving me a sign that, well, you've not got enough stuff going on in your life then. You're not doing enough fun things. You're not entertaining yourself enough. That's it, get out and do more. So if I feel bored and flat, I think the first thing for me now is that I take responsibility for the fact that I'm the one choosing what to do with my life. And if I'm bored, I'm not doing enough with it. And then, start planning more. But definitely the first time was hard. And it was only for reading quit literature and discovering about the lack of dopamine, which was another reason that drove me to write the book. Because if you don't know these things in early sobriety, like for instance, if you do dry January and you hit the end of it, it's so easy to conclude that sobriety is just rubbish. It's boring and it's flat and it's miserable unless you know the kind of facts behind it. So, yeah.
That's a really good point. For me, I rode the pink cloud hard for at least a few months. Like I got a good long pink cloud before I stalled out. But so yeah, I mean, it hits everybody at some point. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're like the sobriety evangelist and you're like knocking on people's doors. Like, please, sir, can I tell you about sobriety? But then all of a sudden you're like, wait, this isn't as cool as it used to be. This is sort of sad. So yeah, no, exactly what you're talking about. And if you don't know to expect it, then it throws you for a loop and you're like, why am I doing this? I think that's the hard thing is you start questioning, like, why am I actually still doing this sobriety thing? That's where the danger zone comes from. So yeah, great points.
I'm gonna touch on this pink cloud thing too while we're pink cloud having the conversation about it. I rode that sucker for a solid 4 months.
Wow.
I had a ride on that, and I knew it. I'm like, when this dumps, it's gonna suck. It inevitably sucks when it dumps because reality hits you. But I rode that pink cloud, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I know some people don't get it for very long, or they don't get it at all, and they're like, where was mine? Damn it! But yeah, I got a really good ride out of it, and I got just as hard to fall. But yeah, the growth it's for me, the plateau was when I stopped growing. It was like I hit the wall of, okay, now what do I do? Now where do I grow? Like I feel like I've overcome some of the things that were holding me back. Like, for instance, being afraid of alcohol. Just the fear. What was it that I needed to do to get over that? And then, okay, so I kind of, in some sense or form, get addicted to doing the work, like working on myself, getting sucked into, Rachel, you talked about the quit lit and stuff like that, like absorbing so much of that information. You can only take in so much and then do so much.
It's
and then
addictive.
wonder, what's that?
It's addictive.
Absolutely.
It is. And then eventually, for me, the plateau was I could read, I could show up to meetings, and I could do all of that. But at some point, that stuff doesn't work anymore. And I have to start doing things with my life, making changes. I can change mindset all I want, but I still can't change the thing in my life that isn't working out. And so for me, the plateau was doing all of that base work, being involved in a recovery community and that sort of thing, but not doing the stuff in my life that I needed to do. And that's where I plateaued at. I plateaued at essentially lack of action. I have the knowledge now, or at least I believe I kind of did, and kind of working through and facing the next thing. Because I don't know about you, but even in sobriety, I was still really good at avoiding stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got, Chad?
I guess I kind of have to, kind of what my recovery plateau would be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I kind of have to probably do a little bit of a backstory, kind of. When Steve sent this topic out to me, like I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up, and then some things kind of sparked. So I'm going to go ahead and give kind of a little bit of backstory, and then kind of tell you what my recovery plateau was. But this past spring, I got out of a long-term relationship, and I was still drinking for the first year of the relationship. Got sober, so I was sober in that relationship for 5 years or 4 years. So, and this was actually like my first real relationship in my life. All of my past relationships, they didn't last very long because of my drinking. And this was the first time, like being in a relationship, being sober, and going through a breakup sober. So I had all those feelings, and I was feeling those feelings raw for the first time, being in a relationship and the breakup. So it was pretty tough for me this spring. So, I reached out, got help, went and saw a therapist, and that's helped tremendously for myself. I wish we could normalize seeing a therapist. I think it is a great thing, even if you're not struggling. But for me, my relationship, my past relationship, it was a safe and familiar, consistent place for me to recover in. I felt like it was better for me to be in a relationship than to be single, better to have that support system, a partner. But the downside is, like, we never really talked about the big issues, like me moving in or getting married, having those tough conversations. We were just kind of going stagnant through this relationship. And a relationship is when two people work together that have the same intentions to grow together. And in the relationship, I told myself a few times, like, am I happy in this relationship? I said, okay, I kind of am. My needs aren't being fully met, but I'm good at this spot because I'm staying sober. And I didn't really felt I needed to grow or change as long as I was staying sober. And I told myself this is a good relationship for me right now. Like I was sacrificing my happiness just to stay in this relationship. Kind of felt like I was a quiet husband, if you ever heard that term, like you're doing everything right, you're giving your all, but you're slowly dying inside. Your cup is not getting filled; it's just getting completely empty. Like, so then this past week I reached out to Steve, and he kind of gave me a couple topics, to talk about during this podcast, and I was like, recovery plateau, that came up, and I looked it up, and it means like not progressing in either positive or negative direction. Personal relationships are being strained. You're kind of in a pessimistic attitude. And, I felt like that I kind of unwillingly, like putting myself in that recovery, my relationship was my recovery plateau. And this past week, I kind of realized that, and things kind of have some clarity. Things make sense to me a little bit more. This is probably the best week I've had in a very long time.
That's amazing.
It's been awesome. And it just kind of this week kind of felt a little bit, serendipitous. Like it's all happened pretty quick. Like I reached out to Steve and he instantly reached out to me. We talked for about an hour Tuesday night. I told him my story and these were the topics. And I was like, I felt like this was kind of pointed at me. I don't know. Like, Steve, did you pick this topic because I told you my story?
You weren't a target.
This podcast works that way, I swear. People end up either showing up to talk about something they really needed to talk about or meeting someone they really needed to meet. It's amazing the way that happens. So I love that.
Yeah. And once I kind of figured out what a recovery plateau, I was like, when in the past 5 years have I felt like I've been stuck, stagnant, nothing positive? And I was like, almost my whole relationship, like I put myself in a safe zone area, surrounded, it was familiar. I felt safe being in my recovery zone there, but I guess I wasn't really looking to grow. It was like I was just thinking, just if you're sober, you're good. That's it.
Right. Well, a comfort zone.
And ever since,
right?
Oh yeah. And like ever since we broke up, of course, the first few months were pretty, dark, kind of bad. That's when I started being a therapist. But since then, I've grown mentally. I've shrunk physically. I've lost 55 pounds in 4
Oh
months.
my God. That's wild.
Shrunk. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it's not because it's dry here either.
No. Yeah. But yeah, so I've just been kind of working on myself and I've been seeing that. And yesterday I talked with my therapist. It's like, maybe I should just have a little checkup before we do this podcast. And he said that this is amazing, that what I'm doing and sharing my story for the first time, kind of, and, putting myself out there, being more vulnerable. And I felt like this past week, I've actually kind of found my voice again, my spark. I felt like I've lost that for the past 10 years, and kind of refound it a little bit, So
Amazing.
thank you for that.
That's amazing. I love that.
Mhm.
Really, really cool.
The hair on the back of my neck, the little bit that's there, just like stood
I
up.
know. I have goosebumps. I love when that happens. Just I don't know. It does. It's serendipitous, right?
Yeah,
It's so neat.
it was. Yeah. And I was like, I asked my therapist and I was like, is this real? Like, I just kind of had to second guess myself. Like, I'm not used to good things happening all the time.
Yeah, you reached out to a men's mental health podcast, and then now you're on a recovery podcast.
Yeah.
The more
Which I'm glad to do,
you're
like-
getting in alignment with the things that you value, the more stuff like you said, you're not used to things feeling really good, right? The more you're aligning the way you're living, the things you're doing with the things that you really value, the more you're going to feel all of those really great things. Like that is a huge piece of moving out of the plateau and into a new state of growth is figuring out like where am I missing something, what am I not quite aligned with, and then moving towards that. So, and it falls into place magically almost.
I've got a question for you. Because I feel like without maybe fully recognizing it, is you hit some sort of plateau. And then you decided, you focused, you reached out and you went and got help from a therapist. And you've only been going to this therapist for how long? A couple months?
Oh, probably 2.5, 3 months.
2.5, 3. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's new, it's fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Can you, I know this might be off topic a little bit, but I think it's important because it's so new to you. Can you, from between then and now, the anxiety of going to see a therapist, and then like how you felt 3 months ago before you started seeing a therapist and talking about the stuff that was important to you, and now, what is the difference?
I guess I don't know. Like I've kind of opened up with my therapist. Like it was tough for me to open up, as it is for a lot of men these days, and talk about their problems and feelings that in today's society we're not supposed to share our thoughts, feelings. It's just kind of how we grew up. You bottled it in and deal with it yourself. When I first saw him, of course I was nervous, like, what is he going to think about me? We all have all these questions, and he's a therapist. He's seen worse than not I have, and kind of moving forward, like my communication has gone through the roof, and opening up. I'm taking off my armor, layer by layer, letting more people in. I find myself at the grocery store just having like a random conversation with a lady that needed to help get a box of cereal from the top shelf or something. Just trying to be a good, I don't know, human. I don't kind of recognizing people are going through their own struggles as well. So you don't know what they're going through. It's better to kill them with kindness, but yeah, like therapy has helped me tremendously, and I recommend it for anybody who's struggling or anything like that, even if they're doing good. You never know what things you could work on. It's always great to improve yourself. I'm not sure if I answered your question fully.
You're good.
It was
You're
a
good.
tough one.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
I'm essentially all I was looking for was for the audience to hear how it's benefited you, because a lot of the times the big bad word therapy means you're broken and you need to be fixed and there is something absolutely wrong with you, and it's so hard to admit, and then so hard to just reach out and ask for help in times.
Oh yeah.
In good times especially, and in
Oh
bad
yeah.
times normally it's got to get bad enough for us to go, oh, okay,
Dang. I
yeah,
just hit rock bottom. I need some help.
Right.
yeah. And so like to catch it in the in between is super super awesome. And I just wanted to, like, I never knew you before, but you already have a really great positive energy about you, and I'm sure that is probably one of the changes that has happened in not too long of a period of time.
Oh yeah. Even this past week at work, like I work with a great crew of guys, a great team. We've known each other for like 10 years, and we work well together. We're like brothers, and we have our own problems that we deal with, and we help each other out. You need to find your place. Find a group of people that think the same as you. Want the common goal, and you can communicate with, you feel safe with. And they noticed that just this past week that I just kind of acted differently, maybe found my voice again. I was more assertive. I just felt a little different, in a positive way.
Awesome.
I think so. I love that you shared about the therapy piece and about like catching it, when it's not rock bottom. I'm going to go back to something that Rachel said that I think was a really important one. And that was like, when we're drinking, we're so used to the chaos and the crazy, and there's always something going on, and a lot of times always something going wrong. So, right. So we're like running around putting out fires and dealing with disaster. And then when we quit drinking and we get through the earlier days and we kind of get used to sobriety, everything starts getting really quiet and really calm. And I think at some point we have to ask ourselves, is this a plateau? Do I need to start working to move forward? Or is this actually just what peace feels like? And I'm so uncomfortable with peace that I don't know what to do with myself. And I know, Rachel, you also mentioned boredom, which is another one. And so I think being able to identify what is this that I'm feeling is a really important part of that. And again, that's something therapists can help with. That's something coaches can help with. Like, what is this I'm sitting in? And what do I need to do about it? Do I need to like start creating forward momentum? Or do I just need to get used to sitting in the stillness and learn how to be at peace? And
Yeah, I can't do that.
go ahead. What did you say, Rachel?
I said I can't do that. For me, peace is synonymous with boredom.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think it always will be. If my life feels too peaceful, it's inevitable I'm going to get a wooden spoon and stick it in and start stirring it. But I think the difference now, I think I've spent the best part of 25 years in a cycle of doing things that were consistently impulsive, whereas now there's room for spontaneity. The difference being that there's going to be no dangerous consequences to making fun and spontaneous decisions to mix my life up, rather than the impulsive ones caused by drinking generally, where you think this seems like a really good idea, only to implode your life.
Oh yeah.
Did you
Been there.
have some really good ideas that really weren't really good ideas?
Yeah, normally resulting in physical injury.
Right. Yeah.
Truth.
No, a piece was
Truth.
super uncomfortable for me at first, and like sitting alone with my thoughts. And so then I'd be like, I'm stuck, I'm stagnant, I need to do something, I have to start moving forward. And I think that there also has to be space for, let's just rest. Let's let all this work that I've done actually play out in my life a little bit and see what that looks like and see what that feels like, um and then do some reflecting and, oh, okay, here's the next direction that I need to move in. But I, like you, I hated that feeling of just like sitting quietly. That was not something I did. I was, always productive or always achieving or always doing something, and staying constantly busy. And if it wasn't physically busy, then it was mentally, growth type busy. Like Steve said, that growth work is almost addictive. But learning to identify that maybe I'm not stuck right now, maybe I just need to sit with the stillness, was really valuable for me, and takes practice because it's not comfortable for somebody who's used to chaos. And actually, I have several clients that I've talked to that they're good when it comes to dealing with cravings when things are bad, when things are chaotic, when they're stressed out, when they're depressed. Like they are okay moving through those cravings. It's the everything's fine and everything's just sitting here. And they're like, that's when I can't handle it. That's when like the discomfort becomes so much because we don't have the skills to just sit in that. So definitely something worth developing some skills for.
Yeah, I probably still need to do a lot of work on that, if I'm honest, because I keep my head a peaceful space by staying busy, because when I am alone with my thoughts, it's very, very easy for those to turn cataclysmic. And I've had multiple rounds of therapy. I'm like you, Chad. I think everyone should do it. I think I've done it 6 times now. Every time I learn something new. And, I've said to a lot of my clients, like, that I do basically daily accountability. So they'll email me and essentially like a journal entry, and then I'll break it down and say, this is what I think you need to do, and this is when I think you need to do it. And I've said to so many of them, I can't do this for myself because my life is subjective to me. Whereas objectively, it's really easy to look at someone else's life and to go, to fix it, I think you need to do these things because you've not got any skin in the game. You're not invested. But with myself, I find it so difficult to see the wood through the trees. I need someone else to help me get there.
Mm-hmm. That's also
that's
another
what's
benefit of the groups that different sober groups, whether it's
Absolutely.
AA or whether it's, like we host a Monday night free support group or whatever, just getting the perspective, somebody who can see from the outside, like you're talking about. Yeah. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry about that.
The objective truth teller.
Mm-hmm.
That person is a dick, and they also want the best for you all at the same time, because they're going to tell you the crap that you don't want to hear. Just like a therapist is going to lead you down that same path, right? But that objective truth through the eyes of someone that you trust, that you're willing to hear, even though when they say something, you just go, like, you just called me out. I didn't want to be called out today. But I mean, if we're going to talk about that here for a second, doesn't that just help you through whatever? Like, those are little plateaus all on their own. When we get called out, and we get to look at we get to receive an objective thought or an idea or opinion of ourselves from someone. It's really an opportunity to move through that, is it not?
Definitely. I'm really lucky, actually. I've got a lot of friends who I can call upon who will tell me if I'm being a dick. So if I'm, having an argument with my partner and I want to sense check if my argument is worth having, I will call a friend and ask for their objective opinion about whether or not I need to go at him or let him go.
That is so good, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it works, and it really does gives you a chance to sort of pause and reflect, but appreciating that the thoughts in your head are not the truth. It's just your perspective on it. And actually, sometimes we do need to check in with other people because, we get it wrong.
Well, it's normally an emotionally driven response that we have, and that kind of puts blinders on. I know this will happen to me. It puts blinders on my own perspective, and the only way to get out of that is to offer it up to someone else, regardless of if it's vulnerable. And generally, it's vulnerable. But if you're willing to accept what's going to be given to you after that, which and it's great when you can and you have people to do that. And I mean, you can go down the path of, well, I don't have anybody to do that for. There are so many people out there that are willing to sit and listen and share when you go to the right places. Right. And there are a lot of those right places out. And, there's therapy if that doesn't exist in your life, for sure. But recovery groups in and of themselves, and you can call them groups or meetings or do whatever, it's a great spot to throw out a life conundrum.
Oh, yeah.
And to get extra perspective on it.
Come hang out with us on Monday nights. Like everybody who's listening, we're on Zoom every Monday, and we will definitely be your truth tellers, for real. I had a moment last night. Actually, I'm going to throw this out there. It wasn't something I had written down to talk about, but I was driving home last night, and I've been really pouty and really not in a great, happy headspace for a while, and I've had like life event after life event after life event for the last 6 months that have just been like tossing me around, and I've just been in a pretty rough spot. And finally last night I was driving home. It was really late after my daughter's birthday party, and I was listening to a song in my car, and I was like, shit, am I like stuck in like this victim mode where I'm like, everything isn't fair and all these bad things keep happening to me, and that's my excuse to just sit here and pout and blame, I mean, it's all just stuff that's happened, right? And I would like, if I'm being honest, yeah, kind of. I've been like, okay, well, this is my excuse to sit here and pout and be sad and not do anything about any of my problems because everything's not fair and all these bad things keep happening. And I think I'm pretty sure at least Rachael has talked about just today, taking responsibility for your stuff. And the hardest thing in the world is when we put ourselves in this victim mode and then having to take responsibility for also getting ourselves out of victim mode. Like, it is absolutely not fair that I had to deal with a pile of shit in the last 6 months. It sucks and it hurts. Also, it's my responsibility to decide when I'm going to do something to keep moving forward and to accept what's happened and take back the power in my life instead of just sitting here like floating around in the sea, letting myself be tossed by the waves. And I hate even bringing up victim mentality because so many people get so defensive, but that's also where all your power is. That's all where my power is. Like, that's how I'm going to get out of this stuck, stagnant, yucky phase that I've been in for the last little while, is taking responsibility and being like, okay, what am I going to do about this? Because I'm the only one who can do something about this. I can complain and I can cry and I can talk to people and get their empathy and have their compassion, and that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, I still need to take responsibility for how I'm going to move myself forward.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. And I've had so many moments like that in sobriety where, I've had a couple of deaths with my mother and then a friend of mine, and that were really difficult to deal with. And then more recently, so in May, my partner and I lost a baby, and it really tough. But having been through other kind of crisis before, particularly with grieving, I knew as soon as it happened that I needed to kind of plan so I didn't go down this hole. So the first thing that I did the next day was to book a trip to go and do a load of escape rooms for 2 days. We're my partner and I are obsessed with escape rooms. It's a really fun, sober activity. So we booked to go, and we went like 3 weekends ago. But it was just nice to have that thing to look forward to, and just point blank refuse to succumb to it on the basis that everybody goes through grief, and I went onto some groups where other people had lost babies, and actually for the women that have lost, I've had stillborns, I'm thinking, well, it could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse for us, and there's always someone that's worse off than you, always.
Definitely. That's a really important perspective. And I think that's when we get out of our own space and our own thing and we start opening up and realizing other people have experienced this too. I know for me, I've definitely been through different versions of loss in the last 6 months, but it's been essentially a season of loss. And talking to people who have been there and seeing, especially people who have been there and have also gotten to the other side, has been a really important, powerful piece of dealing with some of that. But no, I think you're exactly right. We have to decide what we're going to do and take responsibility for that. You have an echo.
Steve, you have an echo.
Every time you
No,
come back.
I'm currently dealing with some technical difficulties.
Okay.
I shall return. You guys keep going.
I
You're
think
doing
we're going to
great.
go ahead and probably wrap this up.
You're going to have to do that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Are you gonna? Yeah. Okay. All right. I have actually, in the 158 episodes that we've released, never wrapped up an episode because Steve has always been here for that. But anyway, no, this has been a great, important conversation. And I think we've touched on so many key parts. Rachel's a coach also, and I know for me, like I talk to so many people who they've figured out the sober piece, they know how to not drink, but then they get to that point where they're like, what am I supposed to do now? Because this isn't actually as great as everybody tells me it is, right? And I think that's that stuck spot that we're talking about. So definitely some of the, once the pink cloud bursts and once we start moving through the dopamine regulation and all of that, then we get to decide what it looks like to get to work, and we have to figure out what direction we're going to go and what actions we need to take to start creating the life that feels amazing, the life that we've been looking for. And I think we've touched on some really good points here and probably covered a lot of information that our listeners are looking for. So I just want to say thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Chad, so much for being here with us today and
You're welcome.
sharing your
Thank you,
stories.
Alex.
And your perspectives. Yeah, it's been great to meet you guys.
Yeah, likewise. You as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Definitely. And I'm sure we'll have you guys back again and we'll get to do some more chatting. So
Awesome. Thank you guys. Really appreciate you.
Yeah,
No,
thank you.
Thank you
That's
for
great.
having us.